Hello people. In today's drawing activity, we're going to do something called shadow shapes. It's an activity designed to help you identify and familiarize yourself with the shapes found in the highlights and shadows on a human face. It's a project that's easy, and with a little bit of practice, anybody can do it. First thing you're going to do is find yourself a nice photo with some pretty distinct shadows, preferably maybe something where somebody's being lit from one light source. Do a little bit of photo editing, turn it into a black and white photo, kick up the contrast a little bit. And basically what you're going to do is work from that photo printout, tracing some of the shapes. And after that, you've essentially created a paint by number type scenario. And then you'll be filling those areas with different values to basically wind up with what should be a very realistic drawing that resembles the photo from which it came. Enjoy the video. So the first thing I'm doing here is using a white transfer paper to transfer my tracing lines to the black paper. I tape it off in two opposite corners to prevent any movement during the tracing process. And don't forget to take a peek underneath to make sure you've had that transfer paper facing the correct direction in order to transfer those lines to the black paper. If you don't have white transfer paper, then you can use something like white charcoal or chalk and just simply scribble on the back of your photographic printout, and that should transfer fine to the black paper. Here I'm showing you close up some of the shapes that I've traced from the photos. Now, what you have to be careful of here is that you're not tracing things that you think exist, but you simply are focusing on the highlights and shadows. So you really have to kind of get yourself focused and in the zone here to identify those shapes that are created by the black and the white and then all the grays in between. Usually what I find is the simplest thing to do is focus on the strictly white shapes first, then the strictly black shapes, and then maybe get some lines in there to identify where some of the transitions take place with the gray tones. Your next step, once you remove the photo from the paper, is to simply fill in the brightest shapes. Remember to use light pressure and fill in going in only one direction in order to avoid getting too much texture within those shapes. Next, I'm using a Q-tip just to kind of blend out some of that texture. And also, this is the time when you're really going to try to achieve some of the middle tones there, or middle values, some of the light grays. You don't at this point you don't want to lose your tracing outlines, and you don't necessarily have to get the values exactly correct, but in order to see the black shapes, you must have them filled with something else besides black around them. So the final step here is using your eraser, both a regular old school number 2 pencil eraser and a kneaded eraser, in order to begin to remove some of that white charcoal or white pastel from areas and re-identifying or shaping some of those black shapes. At this point too, you are trying to remove all line work. So this will not look good until those outlines are removed. So sometimes when doing that, you may actually alter or change the shapes a little bit. So you do have to be careful and make constant comparisons to your photographic printout. And then as you near the end even more, you're going to kind of do a lot of bouncing back and forth. So erasing out the black shapes, using the Q-tip or tissue or a tortillon in order to rub those grays back in and really refine those shapes as best you can. Also, don't forget to constantly check to see if you still have any of those outlines existing, and very important, make sure you get in and get rid of those. It will not look good until those outlines are removed. So at this point, don't forget to sign your work, make a couple last comparisons, and call it done. Thanks for watching.